Joel is just so cute. I love Joel.
I'm a big Joel fan. Canada loves you. Your house guests love you. Did a great job.
It's okay to be a little weird because we all have our weird quirks and stuff. And
Joel is the best.
Joel, you're the winner, and I will shout loudest, don't you worry.
Joel's a really smart guy.
Let's hear it, please, for Joel.
What's up, everyone? Joel here with another edition of Random Thoughts. Crazy week just passed by in the Big Brother Canada house. A lot of stuff to tackle and a lot of interesting things happening on live feeds as well. We're going to get to that later on in the show. But first, you know what? I've always had the persona of sort of the nice sweetheart, and now it's time to bring out a little bit of my evil side because I never had a lot of these characteristics that my guest said she would have if she was going to be in the Big Brother Canada house. So for today and one day only, it's time to cut a bitch, and to help me out to have the backstabbing qualities, we have Kirsten MacInnis. Kirsten, how's it going?
Hello, I'm here to be cutthroat, to be manipulative, backstabbing, all those things for sure. That's the whole reason I came on today.
So how this is going to work, guys, I've got a few questions for Kirsten just that go a long time back about sort of how she became a fan of the show and what it's been like being in the house. If you guys have questions, you guys can follow along. I do have the live chat open right now, so you guys feel free to chime in with that. But Kirsten, I want to start off with addressing, for myself and maybe for yourself as well, a bit of an elephant in the room, if you will. I want to get this out of the way right now so we can actually get down to business and talk about what's been going on in the house. I was a guest on McCrae and Cameron's show a few weeks ago during a double eviction. During that time, McCrae did an impression of you. I want to play the impression right now and see what your thoughts are on that.
Like,
oh, Kirsten. Oh gosh, folks. Yeah, sorry.
All right. Your thoughts on McCrae's impression, and do you have a rebuttal? Do you have a McCrae impression off the top of your head?
I mean, that obviously wasn't an impression. That was clearly me talking. That's what I sound like, obviously. Come on. I'm not a big impression person, but my thing is that for anyone, I'd be like, I'm McCrae. But like, I would say that about literally any person I'm doing an impression of, regardless of what they sound like.
McCrae, I like girls with fake...
McCrae. I like your bad impressions.
I have showmances with girls with fake boobs. I'm awesome. I'm McCrae. Pizza, anybody? What the hell? Oh, we're pretty much like, ugh. Why
it's like he's in the room, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I think so. He would be impressed by that. You know what? McCrae would be very, very impressed by that. All right, that's out of the way. Now let's get down to the serious shit right now. Let's tackle the hard-hitting issues. First off, from yourself, I know you're a huge diehard super fan of the show, just like me. Talk about how hard it's been to like sit and watch this season, knowing that you went all that way and didn't get in the house.
It's really weird because as in the past, you just, you watch the show, you criticize how people play, you think about, what I would do differently. But this time, every single time, I'm like, oh, I would do that differently. It's like, oh, and I could have been I could have been there. But it's like, when you get involved in one of these shows, you can get kind of fucked over by a twist, sometimes even before you step foot in the house. So it's not like I went in thinking, oh, I'm for sure in, and then they were like, surprise, motherfucker. That would have been a little bit harder to deal with probably. But yeah, it's tough to watch, and like to see Maddie, I feel like Maddie and I would have probably been like closely aligned and gotten along really well, and I think what she really needs is like a ride or die, and so maybe like things would be different there. Like just every little thing, it's like, oh, how would it be different if I had been the one there?
So you would have been the one with all of Maddie's crying to just be like, yo, bitch, shut up.
Yeah, I'd have been like, we don't have time for crying, bitch. Cut it out.
Do you think she would have responded to that? Because I think regardless, whether it's like a positive or a negative thing with Maddie, we saw last week when Kayla didn't nominate her when it seemed for sure she was going up, she was like bawling, and I was like, girl, that's a good thing. Like, you're not nominated. Be happy about it. And she's still just like bawling, but it was like a bawling kind of sadness. Is that just like her MO right now? It's just like that's all she's got for strategy?
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know what's going on with her. I really just wish that she was bringing more of what she's doing in the diary room into the house, you know? It just seems like she's got such a bark and then it never bites.
Yeah. How would you assess, I want to address really quickly, the Gate Crashers really kind of crashed and burned. I think there was a lot of expectation from the people that got voted in. What was your take on the gameplay for both Gate Crashers?
Okay. So first of all, their story when they came in was possibly the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. That doesn't help when you come in just with such a stupid lie. And then for anyone coming in a week late, that's going to be a disadvantage because everyone has already started, making moves. My hope was that I would want to go in and it would be kind of a divided house so that they would want the numbers, but it was kind of the case, but not really the case. I think that had Marin moved in with everybody else, he would for sure still be in the game because socially he's so good. I just don't think he knew the strategy quite well enough to deal with the hurdle of coming in late. I think that Veronica would have done the same thing no matter when she went in. I think that she just went in and she was unapologetically herself and it just was going to crash and burn no matter what, which is a little unfortunate. I kind of wish she had been like amazing so I could be like, well, I was beaten by the best. But I wasn't. So
I'm curious what your story would have been had you been voted into the house, because this is pretty much exactly like the situation Allison put herself in Big Brother Canada 2. And I weeks and weeks ago when they came up with this, I'm like you, I was like, that's the stupidest thing that they possibly could have told them. But then I was like, well, what is a reason that would actually make sense? And I'm curious, what reason would you have given that you think could have made sense?
So I would have wanted to just go in and do the Allison, like, oh my God, I thought it was day one, but it's not. But then the minute you go through the DR, you have to be a little bit more different. And so I would have wanted to go in and be like, hey, we thought it was day one, but then they sent us in through here. Like, did someone quit? What's going on? Like, did something happen? And just try and get information from them rather than having all of the attention on like, oh yeah, we were in the audience and it was a contest and yet here's a hockey bag full of all of my personal belongings. Like, it didn't work.
Yeah, I honestly, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. That's the only logical thing I could think of, is to play like a dumb sort of Allison or Bobby thing and just walk in and be like, what's going on? Is this Big Brother? Am I in the right place here, guys? What's up? Yeah, like
How long have you been here?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I really don't think there's any other logical thing, especially because you had to have known going in that there's going to be some super fans, and they all knew about the process. Yes, we're not allowed to talk about the production stuff when we're in there, but that doesn't mean that it won't make us suspicious and we won't inadvertently say it every once in a while. So I'm with you 100%. I think that's the only logical way to go about that situation. So, yeah.
Exactly, 100%. Like, every single person who goes through the same process.
Yeah.
Why would there just be two random people who don't have to? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So before we get into the live feed stuff, last episode I picked up just before the save, which was exercised. From your perspective, me looking at it and seeing how down in the dumps Ryan's edit was, I felt like there was no chance that the save would not be used in this situation. Were you surprised that the save was used on Ryan on Thursday?
No, I wasn't surprised, but I wasn't happy about it. I don't know. These votes, I don't like them anymore.
Why do you think it was used? Do you think it was strictly just because they weren't satisfied with the nominations and they wanted to see a big move, or do you think what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that Canada likes to have power. They like to throw a wrench into somebody's plans, and they also love an underdog. And Ryan has been presented as a huge underdog figure, and I think that it's common for Big Brother fans to want to help out the person that they perceive to be an underdog. I think that is probably what it boils down to. And they thought it was going to be craziness.
Yeah, but he's not. I think we can both come to the understanding that Ryan was not voted in because he was the most popular house guest. Do you think that if they hadn't used it this week and they had waited until next week and maybe somebody like an Erica or a big player would have been in danger, do you think they would have saved a big... Actually, you know what? Let's rephrase that. This week, during Kayla's HOH, had she put up a big player like an Erica or a Johnny and they'd been sitting on the block, do you think Canada would have used the save then, knowing that Kayla had made a big move?
I think they still would have used it no matter what, but I think had Erica been up on the block after the veto ceremony, I think she would have been saved, no question. Like, I saw a lot of people very upset, and not just like the Twitter fans, like people out in the world who don't bother with the live feeds. Like, people were not happy to see Erica go.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was probably the most lit eviction that I have ever seen in US or Big Brother Canada history. That was like that I've been in the middle of some of the craziest fights. That seemed to like blow it out of the water. What was your take on Erica's eviction?
That was like, it was just so fast and so crazy, and like, obviously, you know, props to Kayla, because that was exactly what she should have done in that situation. Like, she made the right move, and all these people coming for Kayla need to shut the fuck up, because any one of them would have done the exact same thing if they were in her shoes. But it was just so like holy shit, she's gone. And you know, I loved when she was telling people to fuck off. That was awesome.
Yeah. It was raw, and it was real, and it was like she wasn't putting anything on. And I think we do get a lot of the phoniness and the internalizing and the fake hugs and stuff like that when we're in there. So I was impressed by Erica. I didn't think that she was salty in any way, shape, or form. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, she's a sore loser and all this stuff. Well, like, if something happened to you like that just in the moment, you'd be a little sour. I know I was, like, super sour when I got evicted the way I did. It's just a normal human emotion. So I had no problem with that. Do you think that the fact that Ryan got saved, do you think that somehow indirectly helped Kayla? Because I feel like when Kayla was targeting Ryan the whole week, that she was almost doing the house's dirty work for her when she didn't have any reason for me to nominate Ryan. Do you think having Ryan saved helped Kayla at all?
Well, yeah, for sure, because I think Erica probably would have had a good chance to win the next HOH. And so Ryan getting saved and her being able to get out, like the biggest comp beast in the game, that's huge for her, and it puts her in a really good spot, especially after what happened with HOH.
Who do you think benefits the most from Erica being evicted and this save happening, besides obviously Ryan, because his game was on the line and he was going home?
I'm trying to think. I think probably like the Real Deal crew probably benefits the most from that. So Derek, Kayla, and Paris.
Ryan, obviously, his butt was on the line. He was saved at the very last minute. Now that Ryan's been saved, this big move has happened. Is there a chance that Ryan can actually now go deep into the game, do you think? Or do you think all this twist did was really delay the inevitable for Ryan?
I think that if he can make it 1 to 2 more weeks just on his own abilities, he certainly has the chance to go deep, because I think people will start shooting at each other and he might kind of fall through the cracks. But I'm hoping that people will be like, hey, Canada really liked him. Like, what if Canada has a say at the end? Like, maybe we should cut him, because he really put himself in the position that he's in. And it just drives me crazy that he could now potentially go to the end and win because of this.
Well, my other question was, if for some reason Ryan does make it to the end of the game, we don't know what other twists are going to be coming down the line, but we also, Ryan's situation right now kind of reminds me of somebody who has been evicted and then comes back and then makes it to the end of the game. Sometimes that is held against somebody. Do you think the fact that Ryan was going home and had this lucky break by Canada, will a jury hold that against him, do you think, and maybe not vote for him just on that alone?
Yeah, it definitely could go that way, but it could also be the thing too where if he's at the end and everybody thinks Canada loves Ryan, they might not want to vote against him because of what that could say about them to Canada at the end. That could also play into it.
Is there any sort of a pitch Erica could have made to avoid her situation? Obviously, you can have no idea when you're thinking about all the twists and stuff. You have no idea what's going to come, but is there anything, do you think, Erica could have done socially or in that split second to save herself?
I think like in the week prior, she certainly could have been a little bit less cocky about her abilities in the competitions, and that kind of rubbed people the wrong way a little bit. But overall, I don't think there was a lot she could do. It happened so fast, and she is such a juicy target. I feel like the minute she's on the block and you can vote her out, you're like, if you want to shoot for her, you had better not miss. And like, that was their opportunity.
Yeah, and I said a few weeks ago that it was kind of inevitable no matter who Erica took a shot at when she was HOH, that she was always going to be the biggest comp threat and the biggest target. So with that being said, do you think that it might have been a smarter move for Erica during her last HOH to take out some of the other big competitors that she was going up against and then just tried to win out, like maybe Kevin or Demetrius last year, who really had nobody to fight against except themselves once some of the comp threats were taken out?
Yeah, like I don't think it's realistic to say that Erica could have won out from this point just because it's still so early. But I think that she definitely was, it was a disadvantage to take out Marin. I feel like complaining about all those floaters, you need to pick up numbers and you need to kind of build your army and take a shot at the other side. I think she should have just put Jayla straight up on the block and been like, one of you is going home this week, and actually taken the shot there. I don't think getting Marin out was a benefit to her game or really many people's game.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think Marin was like a perfect goat to take to the end, and somebody that probably was, he had the niceness factor to him, but I think even a Ryan probably could have won over Marin in a final two situation. But
yeah, because Marin is nice, but he still didn't fully integrate socially, and it's not like he was winning competitions. So that's definitely someone that Erica should have kept in and tried to pull in, rather than, you know, be like, I'm going after the floaters. And can we just stop calling anybody who you consider useless a floater? Because that's not what floating is, and I've had enough. Floating is actually one of the best strategies you can have in the game. It is a purposeful maneuvering between the social dynamics in the house and keeping yourself safe. And it takes a lot of skill and ability to do. And I'm sick of them being like, oh, this person hasn't won competitions, that means they're a floater. No, just enough. Enough of this.
Yeah, and you know what? I think only people like us and huge super fans who really study the game understand how difficult it is to be a floater, because that's something that I was called a lot in the house, and it's like it's not that easy to just go back and forth and to try to appease everyone. Because the other thing is, if you're like a quote unquote floater, like people deem you if you're not winning comps or in a big dominant alliance, is that you're always have to kind of explain yourself and do damage control every single week, because nobody knows, everybody's vying for your vote, but then that exposes you after the eviction and you have to answer to those questions. Like when during my season, Kelsey and Jared and Raul never had to answer to anybody when they voted the way they did, or Maddie, Ramsey, and Dallas, but I always did. The people in the middle always have to like explain which way they go, because you're pissing somebody off after an eviction. So I 100% agree with you. Floating is probably more difficult than a lot of game strategies in there, but yeah.
Sorry, there's been so much of that with everyone being like, oh, all these floaters. And I'm like, No. Don't know what that means.
No.
You're using it wrong, and I can't handle this anymore.
Done. Elephant in the room addressed.
Yeah, gone. Goodbye.
Gone. Goodbye. Moving on. So let's get to Erica. Erica leaves. She's not in jury. What are your thoughts on the fact that jury starts up next week? Are you surprised they don't have a 9-person jury like they've typically had?
I love that it's going to be a 7-person jury. I feel like with the 9-person juries, that first and second juror, they really are so far removed from the game by the time the vote comes that they don't even really know what's going on. So I'm really excited about going to a 7. I'm a little surprised that Erica's not the first juror because I was thinking there'd be an 8-person jury plus a Canada jury vote at the end. So I'm surprised, but I'm not disappointed by that. Although it does suck to be Erica and to be such a badass and then not get to be in the jury.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And yeah, the deeper you are in the game, the more you can kind of like, just because the jury format is so quick and you only get one question, it's not like the old school Survivors where you really get a chance to process and get all the information you need for somebody to articulate your game. And I think it's easier when it's a smaller jury simply because everybody can kind of, everybody that's there has seen everyone's game in there for a while. So even if their jury questions aren't what they want and they don't get enough time to articulate it, the final 2, they can gauge it just based on their experience in there and they can have a good idea because those people are only maybe like 3 weeks or so removed from the house, so that's not too long. They can make a more educated decision in my opinion with that. So
100%.
Let's get to Erica is gone. We're gonna get to some live feed stuff. If you guys do not want to hear some live feed and spoiler stuff, then feel free to tune in next week. I am hopefully going to have Erica on my show. I've gotten clearance from production to talk to Erica. I'm just waiting to hear back from Erica, so that will hopefully happen sometime next week. But with that being said, let's get into the live feeds now. And as fate would have it, Kayla and Derek are the biggest targets, and Kayla can't compete for HOH. So what happens? Derek is the new head of household. Derek, the guy that has kind of been seen as the dud so far this season, really has not shown us all that much besides his relationship with Kayla. Do you feel that Derek this week, or do you feel like Derek winning right now shows that he was maybe playing possum before and had this planned the whole time, or did he just have a comp that catered to him?
I mean, I don't know that he planned it this whole time. I think that's giving a little bit more credit than we should give. But I think that maybe after seeing everything happen on Thursday and seeing Kayla, get out such a big target, I think it might have lit a little bit of a fire under his butt that he had to do something to contribute to his partnership.
Well, now all of a sudden, Dayla, who were sort of the prime juicy targets, probably had Derek not won. They seem to be really primed to go far into this game. The other duo that it is sort of common knowledge to the rest of the house is Allie and Liv. What do you think is the best move? Is it smart, because there's 9 people in the game right now? Is it smart for Allie and Liv and Dayla to just all of those 4 team up and just be like, yo, we've got the numbers at this point. We want to give our best odds. Let's knock off 2 or 3 of these quote unquote. I'm not going to say the word. I'm just going to say the quote unquote people that are perceived as the singles in the house. Should they just say, you know what? Let's work together and take this down to the 4.
Yeah, I think that's probably the move, and it's even better if people don't realize that that's what they're doing, because I think that there's some value in leaving, a power couple if you think they're going to take a shot at the other power couple. So as long as people don't realize how closely they're working together, I think that's for sure the best thing that they should be doing right now.
So one of the people whose position really, really has gotten terrible since Erica's eviction is Johnny. Johnny's somebody who was set up pretty nicely until the Kayla eviction. At this stage, with Derek being head of household, with Johnny clearly being the biggest comp threat in there, is there anything that Johnny can do at this point to save himself with Derek HOH, or does he just have to win a comp?
I think he had to win the veto in that situation. With the way the lines are drawn, I don't know that he could convince enough people from both sides to keep him. And it breaks my heart because I love Johnny.
Yeah, same here. I think Johnny from the very beginning has played one of the best all-around games out of the people that's in there. So it's really unfortunate. And what I really liked about Johnny, especially last week more than anything, was the fact that some people were sort of catching on to him, but he was also catching on that they were catching on, which to me is the mark of a really good, smart and astute Big Brother player. So it's unfortunate that he's in the position that he is right now. Do you think that Derek's best move at this stage, knowing that Johnny is clearly the biggest target, is there any reason to backdoor Johnny at this point, or is that too risky with this many people left?
Well, the thing is like there's a good chance that Johnny wouldn't have been pulled in the veto draw with this many people. So I can see that line of thought. But I think Derek's perspective is that if he doesn't just straight up put up Johnny and Ryan, that he's then going to have to kind of show his allegiance between the two other sides, right? With the Will, Maddie, Paris versus Ali and Olivia. And, you know, making his intentions so clear there is probably not the best. So I don't hate the idea of just putting Johnny and Ryan right up there, even though personally I hate it because I love Johnny, but strategically it makes sense.
Yeah, so Ryan and Johnny, no surprise to anybody, get nominated for eviction. Ryan's worst case scenario, I would imagine, with these nominations would be that Johnny won veto. I would feel like if anybody else other than Johnny won veto, Ryan would probably still be okay, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, with Erica being gone, Johnny has to win, and then Ryan would go there most likely. But yeah, that's really the only thing that could hurt Ryan this week, unfortunately.
One of the people who I've been kind of back and forth on whether or not I think she's playing a really good game or not, but somebody who I think has done some really good work over the last week or so and has all of a sudden found herself in a decent spot is Paris. Given Paris's position right now, she seems to be okay with Derek and Kayla, which I don't understand how Paris was able to convince Kayla to put Ryan up, given the fact that they were kind of on opposite ends the week before. But how do you see Paris's position right now? And is her best move just to stay back and duck from the punches that are going to get thrown?
I think that's what she should be doing, but she's shown that she can't fully do that. She is a messy player, but she is a capable player at the same time. And it's just, right now she's kind of calmed down a little bit, and I think that's for the best for her. I'm really excited to see what she brings in the next couple weeks, because she's interesting.
Yeah. What's crazy about her is that she clearly has some people who fully trust her. We have Ryan, who I think spilled it to Ali that basically that Paris is sort of her ride or die. She loves Paris. We saw Maddie being sort of indebted to Paris because Paris is kind of the one that got Maddie off of the block. She seems to be okay with Dayla as well right now. Will is kind of more so off on an island and doesn't have necessarily that ride or die from what I've seen. But if there's anybody, I would think Paris is probably his ride or die. Is Paris in the best spot in the house at this point?
I think she is. And I think it was the thing too where Ali was trying to throw Paris under the bus, and she was finding that every single person really likes Paris and feels comfortable with Paris. And I think she had that moment of shit, Paris is better than me socially, which is not what you want to realize.
Has Paris done enough, do you think, at this stage of the game to win? Or does she need to win? Does she need a couple of comp wins down the stretch here to really sort of pad her resume and articulate that to a jury?
Yeah, I think she needs to win a couple of things so that she has more of a tangible example of here's what I've done. Because she certainly thinks that she's driven a lot more decision making in the house than she actually has. And so I think if she were to stand up in front of a jury and be like, I dictated this and this and this and this and this, they would probably be like, well, that's not true. And it might hurt her. So she definitely needs to win something at least.
Another person who struggled to win, well, realistically, when you think about it, almost everybody has struggled to win competitions except for Johnny and Erica. Ryan's got a couple under his belt, but another one who has struggled to win anything is Allie. Allie's been talked about as a potential replacement nominee had somebody like Johnny or Ryan won the veto. Do you think that would have been a smart move for Derek to put Allie up as a pawn?
I don't would she stay or would she go? I feel like it's pretty borderline with Allie. Like, she very well could go home because she is part of a visible duo.
Yeah, no, she 100% is, and she also is somebody who is very confrontational. We obviously, the thing that was highly talked about was her argument with Ryan that one time, but she's somebody who is not afraid to speak her mind and be open, and that kind of gets her in hot water. So I feel like there could be, especially some of the emotional people that are in there, like especially Will more than anybody, there might be a fighting chance for, say, a Johnny if he's up against an Allie in a situation like that. Do you think that's Johnny's best case scenario is if he doesn't win the veto, Ryan wins it or Ryan is taken off and an Allie is put up next to him?
I'm trying to think, because his chances are not great either way, because he kind of needs people from both sides of the house to vote for him to stay no matter what. So being against Ryan might even be his best case scenario, just because there's nobody who's really attached to Ryan who'd be fighting to save him the way that like Olivia would be fighting for Allie, or
or
people
Derek
would fight for
Kayla
Will or
or
anything.
Kayla for
Yeah,
Derek,
exactly, right? I think against Ryan might actually be his best bet, because Allie does have people that she's working with, and Ryan doesn't really. Yeah, I think against Ryan is his best bet.
Yeah, and Ryan has also had a lot of conflicts with some of the people left in the house, so there is maybe like a very slim chance in a situation like that for Johnny to win. So with that being said, Derek, because it's the season of whoever's HOH always wins veto, I think this has to be like one of the records for the fourth time, that somebody who is HOH has won a veto. Derek has won the veto. Any reason whatsoever for Derek to use it at this point?
I don't think so, unless he decides that he wants to do something a little bit more exciting with the other side, but I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's like no chance at all for Derek to want to use the veto, just given the fact that he kind of needed to pull out this HOH, in my opinion, and even I think to solidify him and Kayla's position and to try to make it seem like, hey, we weren't ever going after you guys, he needed to win just to like not show his cards anymore as well. Yeah. So
just to appease everybody, this is what he kind of had to do.
Yeah, and you brought up a really good point about Johnny. So now that in all likelihood Johnny's going to be sitting next to Ryan come eviction time, Johnny's got a really interesting thing, because I think he does have a case as to why he should stay, but the fact is a tie really does him no good in this situation, because Derek is obviously going to cut him, because it's been common knowledge from Dayla that Johnny's been trying to get other people to get Dayla out over the last few weeks. But how does Johnny walk this tightrope, in your opinion, to try and get not only maybe like a Paris and a Maddie and a Will, but he needs one of the duos as well. So he needs Allie, and with Allie comes Liv. How does he get the duo of Allie and Liv to vote for him?
Well, and it's kind of interesting, because I know yesterday he was talking to Allie and Liv and kind of had them convinced, like, hey, Dayla's not really working with you, they're working with the other three. And he kind of went to the other three and were like, hey, Dayla's not really working with you, they're working with Allie and Liv. And he kind of had both sides half convinced, but then there's no way for him to bring those two halves together into one room and be like, everyone's got my back, because then alarm bells are going to go off like, okay, well, if it's good for them, it's not good for me, and then he'll lose those votes. Like, I just don't see how he's going to get, 4 votes. I don't see it.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I was literally just going to bring it up. That's the catch-22 is like, you can do good work when you're in there of like planting seeds of doubt and maybe very subtly pinning two people against each other. And I think Johnny's done as good of a job as you can ask for in a situation like this. But then if they all go in there, then they're obviously probably going to talk to each other and they're going to be like, well, Johnny told you this and then Johnny told me the opposite thing. So obviously they're going to be like, what the hell, Johnny, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Like, I just don't see how he can take kind of the tentative votes that he's been able to get and actually solidify them. I think, sadly, Johnny's going to go be our first juror.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like he's going to suffer that same fate as well. But one of the cases, and I don't know if this is something that would help Johnny in any way at all, but one of the people who seems to be adamant to want Johnny out, and it's a bit of a head scratcher to me, is Maddie. Now, Maddie in general has been a bit of a head scratcher throughout the season, but why does Maddie want somebody like Johnny out when she kind of has Johnny to thank for not getting put up in that double, right?
Yeah, Maddie owes Johnny her life in the game at least twice over. And I think that Johnny's done a really good job of appealing to people's emotions all season. And I think he needs to just go to her and be like, girl, listen, you were on the block in that double and I saved you. You need to save me now. Like, you need to help. But it's the same thing too, where when Maddie is campaigning, half the time she ends up getting the opposite result of what she wants because it's just not working out for her. And I don't know why that is, but it just keeps happening.
Is there a chance when Johnny was HOH the very first week, Johnny employed the puppy dog, the crying strategy? Can he appeal to Maddie's soft side by going over the top with crying? Is it possible to outdo Maddie in a crying game?
I don't even want to imagine that. Like, honestly, I just want to puke imagining all of that crying in one room. Like, no, I can't. I don't think anybody can outdo it. And here's the thing, too, is Maddie's trying to say that this crying is all strategic and that it's all crocodile tears. I'm buying 0% of that. Like, girl, you're a mess, and it's okay. Like,
right. Yeah.
Don't pretend to be something you're not.
I mean, when the narrator for Big Brother Canada says, "And will Maddie ever stop crying?" Like you know, it's a little excessive when they're not saying the common catchphrases and when they're not like, "Will it just be used?" It's like, "Will Maddie stop crying?"
Will Maddie ever stop crying? No, she will not. Thank you.
Is there a chance in a Final Two situation that people will sympathize with Maddie, and will she be able to get out any speech if she's in a Final Two? Will she be able to articulate anything without crying? And will tears help her get votes?
Well, I mean, based on her diary rooms, I feel like she really can articulate things that make it seem like she's a lot more of a mastermind than she really is. And, tears could help. Sometimes when people see a pretty girl cry, they want to, do something to make the crying stop, and that could be a vote. Possible. It's like if you get a speeding ticket and you cry a little bit and the cop's like, oh, it's okay, give you a warning. Maybe that's her strategy, the speeding ticket strategy.
Have you gotten out of a ticket that way before?
I've only ever gotten photo radar tickets, and unfortunately you can't cry to a letter you get in the mail, but
no, but you don't
I could. If a real cop pulled me over, I think I could cry my way out.
Were you ever able to do that during your time in school, either at U of C or somewhere else? Cry yourself to get a better mark?
I've never had to. I was just good at school.
You're just damn good at everything.
No, not everything, but I am good at school.
It's true. That's true. Derek and Kayla, obviously, they've won back-to-back. Is there a chance, do you think, that they can sort of Emmett and Jillian this thing all the way to the end?
I mean, anything's possible. And look at Big Brother Canada. There's always a showmance or half of a showmance type deal at the end of the game, right? And I think at least one of them is going to make it to at least Final Four. I don't know if both of them will, but at least one of them will.
Well, the ideal Final Four, I heard this, I think late last night or early this morning, Dela was talking about wanting to have Paris and Allie in Final Four, simply because at that stage of the game, it's all about winning competitions, and Paris and Allie have not shown to be the best competitors out there. Is that their best way to take it all the way to the end and win this? Like, as in Allie and Derek being in Final Two, is that their best path?
I think it might be better to have Will there than Allie, just because like Will's too big for most of the physical competitions, and he hasn't shown himself to be good at the mental competitions. I think that if you want someone that you can beat, it might be better to bring Will along.
Yeah. I think the only thing really Will has going for him right now is the goofiness and the sort of the maybe a little bit of the likability thing, but I think that's kind of dropped off a little bit from Will. I don't think the jury is going to vote strictly on that. Would it be smart at this stage to first off, do you think Derek? I feel like if Derek goes up against Kayla probably takes it. Do you think Derek would have the wherewithal to cut Kayla like John did Netta in a Final Three situation?
Derek seems like just a little puppy dog. I don't know if he has that killer instinct or not. It maybe, but I don't see it. I see Kayla cutting him, but I don't see him cutting Kayla.
One of the other people, and I can't believe I haven't actually mentioned her name yet, which is probably a good thing, but she is really nicely positioned, is Olivia. How have you... do you think that Olivia's been one of the more consistent players in the sense that she's always seems to be voting the right way, but she doesn't ever seem to be like having to answer to it afterwards, and people are more sort of bugged by Allie. Has Olivia been a fairly solid player from your perspective throughout the game?
Yeah, I think Olivia is certainly capable. She showed that she can handle herself under pressure when she had the double eviction HOH and made really the right decision getting rid of Hams at that point, because he was for sure coming for her. And she does really well with Allie, because Allie will do a lot of talking, and Olivia just kind of sits back and, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't have patience for people. Oh, I'm over it. But she's hearing all of this information, and she is making use of it later. I think that I would be so satisfied if Olivia like won the season.
Yeah, I would too. I was looking kind of at the board right now. I've switched my pick over the last little while. Originally, I had Erica. Then a couple weeks ago, I thought Johnny was so nicely positioned, and then now Johnny's not obviously in a very good spot. I've kind of gone back and forth, but I feel like consistently from the very beginning, Olivia has always been able to not be the number one or the number two target from people, but she also seems to be well liked enough socially by everybody. If Olivia is in Final Two, do you think there's anybody that she would lose against?
Depending on the case she pleads, I could see a Paris Olivia Final Two being very interesting. I think Kayla maybe. I don't see any of the males left beating her unless Johnny somehow miraculously stayed, but I just don't see that happening. I think she could do it. I have faith in Olivia, but you should not pick her as your winner, because obviously you're jinxing people with that, and I don't want you to hurt Olivia.
I know, and I myself either being in the house or myself picking winners has always been a jinx thing. After all, Nikki picked me as the winner in the house and announced it to everybody, and then I was evicted the very next week. So that's how it goes. Word of advice, people, do not listen to my winner picks, because I'm always totally way off base. One of the things you mentioned, the males. One of the things that's been a big talking point over the last little while has been the strong, dominant females. Were you surprised when you got back home and saw sort of the cast list that the females were? Did you feel like the females would be as dominant as they have been in there?
I think that there was a few surprises. Like, I don't think anyone really saw Olivia coming. But other than that, like, what a group of badass women. The only thing that surprised me was when all of them were like, I would never work with women. Like, guys, enough. Just stop.
Yeah, that's like every single season. I think there's always talk about it, right? But it's rare that it lasts more than a few weeks, and it hasn't really happened this year. But I think this is as close as we've gotten to like at least females not always taking each other out. So
yeah, I would love if the next 3 other, like, obviously I love Donnie, but like if Derek and Ryan somehow went out in the next little bit and it was like an all female final, like 6 or whatever, oh my god, that would be amazing.
That would probably
be so cool.
Would that have ever happened? We've seen that in Survivor lots where women have sort of dominated and taken it down to like 5 or 6 people. Has that ever happened where there's been like all women at 5 or 6? I can't even remember.
So I can't remember, but I don't think so. I could be wrong. Don't at me if I'm wrong. I don't care.
So who is, last question for you, who is your ideal final 2? Like if you could pick the 2 that you want to see battle it out at the end, who would you be happy to see in final 2 from the people that are left?
Obviously me. No, just kidding. I wish it could be Johnny and Olivia, but I know that that's not happening. So I guess Olivia and Kayla maybe would be a fun final 2. I really like Kayla. She is a stone cold killer.
I like your initial thought though about yourself, because Big Brother Canada is probably one of the more, I mean, Big Brother and reality shows are never fair with the twists that they give, but that would be like the ultimate one, and just be like, hey, the Gate Crashers got a free pass all the way. They got a backstage pass for all these weeks, and then all of a sudden when they cut the 3, you and Mikey come in, and then you guys battle it out in final 2. That would be the ultimate twist of all twists. So
can you imagine if they had actually done that and I'm just still in sequester?
Oh, that would be, you know what, I've always said that it would be an interesting thing to have people who have gone home and who have had access to live feeds and to watch the show and stuff, to get to come back into the house and play, because everyone always assumes that when they go home, well, they were seen at home, so they're fine. But what if Big Brother really throws them off and they have all the access to all this other stuff?
Oh my god!
Yeah, just never know with Big Brother Canada. They're the
internet would explode.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Well, Kirsten, that's everything that I have for you today. It was a lot of fun chatting with you today. I look forward to meeting you in person again sometime down the road. Yeah. But for people who want to follow along what is going on in the life of Kirsten, how can they do so?
The best way would be on Twitter or Instagram at Kirsten Said What. That is me. I don't know.
And for you guys who want to follow along, you can give this a thumbs up in the section below. Like and subscribe to my podcast. Like I said, I'm waiting to get confirmation from Erica. I will hopefully have Erica on the show next week, so really looking forward to that. I'm sure she will have a lot to say about her eviction and her time in the Big Brother Canada house. So look forward to that. You can follow me along on Twitter at JoelBBCan. Joel Lefebvre, Big Brother Canada is my Facebook, or at JoelBBCan4. I will keep you guys updated on what's going on with these podcasts. My thanks again to Kirsten for joining me on this podcast, and stay tuned for another one later on this week. Talk to you guys then. Toodles.